This week, cadets, we will be discussing teaching methodologies based on Chapter 8 of the Teacher Cadet Curriculum. There are a variety of teaching methods that can be used in the classroom. Class discussions, cooperative learning, flipped classrooms, games, guided notes, independent work, graphic organizers, lectures and demonstrations, inquiry lessons, questioning, student presentations, role play and dramatic arts, technology, textbooks, worksheets are all various methods that can be used to bring your lessons alive. Let's dive into each of them. First, class discussions and debates. Often, when teachers are writing lesson plans, they put in their objectives the class will discuss. But the reality is that many times these discussions are little more than lectures with a little bit of student input. Make sure that when you plan a class discussion, it is just that, a discussion, and not a lecture with a little bit of student input. Class discussions should be an open-ended, collaborative exchange of ideas among teachers and students, or among the students themselves. The purpose of class discussions is to further student thinking, help them with their learning, problem solving, understanding, and literary appreciation. In effective class discussions, participants present multiple points of view. They respond to the understanding or interpretation of the matter at hand. Cooperative learning, experiments, projects, and groups. Cooperative learning is a method in which the teacher allows small groups of students to work together to complete a common task, to solve a problem, or to achieve a common goal. The group is responsible for their own learning. Experiments and projects can be done using cooperative learning. According to David Johnson and Roger Johnson, there are 5 basic elements that allow successful small group learning. Small groups should foster positive independence where students feel responsible for their own effort and the group's effort. Small groups should encourage face-to-face interaction, where students are encouraged to support one another and where the environment encourages discussion and eye contact. Small groups should foster individual and group accountability. Each student should know that they are responsible for doing their part, and each student should be responsible for the entire group's effort. Small groups should help the group to develop their interpersonal, social, and collaborative skills. These are skills that will be needed later in life as they will work with others. Small groups should encourage group processing, where all of the members of the small group are able to analyze their own viewpoint and the group's viewpoint so that they can work together. And now, let's explore the flipped classroom. In traditional classroom settings, students are introduced to new concepts and material within class. The teacher introduces a lesson or an idea, and then the teacher assigns homework to the students to take home so that they can practice the skills or explore the concepts further. In the flipped classroom, this idea is, flipped around, and the students begin their learning process of a new concept or idea at home. In the flipped classroom model, students are introduced to the concepts and the content of lessons at home, and when they come to school, they practice the lesson. They do what they traditionally would have done at home at school, and what they traditionally would have done at school at home. This method allows for more practice of material during class. And students get to interact with the new content as much as they want, as slowly or as quickly as they want, and they come prepared to dive deeper into the lessons. Let's learn more about the flipped classroom by watching a video.
This is a classroom. The teacher stands at the front, and the students watch and listen. You'll recognize this because it's probably how you were taught and how your parents were taught before you. But there are a lot of problems with this approach to teaching. You see, not all students learn at the same speed, so some get left behind. And while some students learn better by listening, others may learn better by doing. This means that teachers can't always do the best job they can, but there is another way. The flipped classroom addresses these problems and makes learning more personal. First, the teacher makes a video that delivers the content they'd usually teach in class. Then they share it online with students who can watch it before the next lesson. This leaves the teacher free to spend class time leading activities that help students apply the knowledge. Students can rewind and re-watch a video as many times as they like and come back to class with questions for the teacher. So keeping up with the class is no longer an issue. Students can access the video at any time using mobile devices, giving them the ability to learn more independently. Instead of sitting and listening, students can spend class time applying knowledge in more practical ways. And teachers are free to spend their time working with students and giving them individual support and attention. The flipped classroom model is already making a difference to students and teachers worldwide, so get involved. Discover more at flippedinstitute.org and become part of the movement.
We will now look at using games as a method in the classroom. Game-based learning is a teaching method that allows learners to explore different types of games as a form of learning. Learning through gameplay is not a new concept. It is believed that as early as 3000 BC, games were used in China as a way of sharing knowledge and preparing the next generation to make meaningful contributions to the community. The game of chess, for example, was a simulation war game. It was designed to teach soldiers battle strategy. Games allow students to learn content in a manner that is fun and relaxing. Can you think of a time one of your teachers used a game? What did you learn during that lesson? Lectures and guided notes are another teaching method. In the lecture method, the teacher acts as the primary source of information. You may see teachers who use this method stand in front of the students, perhaps using visual aids such as PowerPoints or handouts, and they lecture. They talk for the majority of the lesson with little student input. Many teachers combine the lecture method with guided notes to help students to engage with the lecture being presented. To use guided notes as a method of teaching, the student is given a copy of notes summarizing the content from a class lecture or an assigned reading. There are blanks inserted in the notes where key facts or concepts should appear. As the information is covered during the lecture or in a reading assignment, the student is expected to write the missing contents into the blanks to complete the guiding notes. This helps to draw the student's attention to the important content, and it keeps them engaged while the lecture is going on. The next method we will look at is independent work. Independent study is a process, a method, and a philosophy of education. In independent work, a student acquires knowledge by his or her own efforts with very little input from the teacher, and that student develops the ability for inquiry and critical evaluation. Independent work includes freedom of choice in determining the objectives that they wish to learn within the confines of a given project or program, and with the aid of a faculty advisor. For independent work to take place, freedom of choice to carry out the process is required. Independent work places increased educational responsibility on the student for the achieving of objectives and for the value of the goals. Another method which can help students understand large chunks of information is graphic organizers. Let's watch a video about graphic organizers.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education, Graphic Organizers, a teaching strategy. Organize knowledge and ideas using semantics and symbols. So, let's first consider why educators should use graphic organizers. Graphic organizers are research-based and have been effectively used for years in education. Graphic organizers can be used in almost any grade level and any subject as well. Students get bombarded with information each lesson, and unfortunately, they often can't make connections between the information. Graphic organizers help students make connections between ideas and information. These organizers can also be used as a tool for students to study and review information. With graphic organizers, the information is concise and broken down into visual format. Teachers can use graphic organizers as classroom assignments as well. Get the kids working actively. We can now take a look at some different types of graphic organizers. The first type is a comparison graphic organizer. The most famous and common example is the Venn diagram. It's two overlapping circles with similarities placed in the overlapping section. The next type is a concept geo. Several examples include spider webs, mind map, webbing. You have a central idea with supporting ideas branching off. The next type is a descriptive organizer. A T-chart is probably the most familiar example. It has been used to describe attributes of various living things, but also used as a comparison using pros and cons. The fourth example is a sequence graphic organizer. Sequence graphic organizers have to do with timing. A great example of a sequence geo is a chain of events organizer. Right now, I'll walk you through a filled-out example of a cause and effect graphic organizer, which is most frequently used in the social studies course. Here is the outline of what the organizer should look like. It has 3 circles, 3 arrows, and 3 boxes. The circles are the causes, the boxes are the effects. We'll use, for example, the Revolutionary War. You have British troops placed in Boston streets. That leads to the Boston Massacre and the murder of Crispus Attucks. Next was the Stamp Act, enforcing taxes on the colonists. That led to the rebels terrorizing tax collectors. And lastly, Thomas Paine writes the book called Common Sense, which helped spark and galvanize the revolution. So right now I want to say thank you for your time and subscribe to this channel.
Let's now look at inquiry lessons and student presentations. In an inquiry-based lesson, the teacher is the facilitator, not the fount of all wisdom. Lesson plans are structured to allow the questions of students to drive the learning process. And so a teacher can start the lesson with a question, and students, by exploring the answers to the question or questions, learn about the concept being taught. Inquiry lessons are often paired with student presentations. Students present work that they have learned in order to teach the rest of the class the concepts that they have explored. Presentations help to practice a wide range of skills and build student confidence. How does this look? Let's look at an example of an inquiry-based lesson in a 2nd grade classroom.
Inquiry-based learning can promote student engagement by making the learning focus on something that is of interest to the student. For this project, 2nd grade students started with the essential question, What businesses are in our community, and what goods or services do they provide? This essential question came from the second grade social studies curriculum, which became a focus of our library media lessons, research, and our project presentations. We focused on researching locally made goods and local services. Once the research was complete, students worked with a partner and together they planned out their keynote presentation to teach others what they had learned.
I like that you can go on computers because if you don't know what a good or service is, you could look back on Pebble and see what a good or service is.
That goods are things that you can touch and use, and services are work done for other people.
That all goods aren't really good because some goods are like services too, because some services provide goods, and goods come from services, and services give goods.
While working on the presentation, students were taught how to insert pictures and add effects, and even slide transitions. Students were also showed how to change font styles and colors. Once finished, students shared their presentations with the class to showcase what they had learned. This inquiry-based learning task encouraged collaboration and communication while utilizing technology in a meaningful way.
Because so it would be fair for us, and we could both pick our own stuff, and she picked a veterinarian, and I'm gonna see what I pick.
It's that sometimes if you don't know something and then your partner knows it, they can tell you it.
Fun because you get to put pictures on there.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because well, I'm gonna show you one that's you get to work with a partner, and it's fun to go on the web and get pictures.
I think it's really cool because you can like type the things and then you can put pictures all around it.
Next, let's look at questioning. Questioning is a popular method in teaching, second only perhaps to lecturing. Done correctly, however, questions can promote independent thinking in students by asking a series of questions designed to explore ideas in depth. Teachers ask questions for a number of reasons. They may ask questions to actively involve students in the lesson, to increase the motivation or interest of students, to evaluate students' preparation, to check on the completion of work, to develop critical thinking skills among their students, to review previous lessons to build upon with the students, to nurture the insights of their students, to assess achievement or mastery of the goals and objectives of the lesson, and to stimulate independent learning. Another method which has gained popularity in recent years is role-play and dramatic arts. Role-playing is a way of working through a situation or scenario or problem by assuming roles and practicing what to say and do in a safe setting. Role-playing is active learning, incorporating drama, simulations, games, and demonstrations of real-life cases related to any topic. It is useful for any age group and any subject area and increases student engagement with content. Finally, let's look at technology, textbooks, and worksheets. Technology, textbooks, and worksheets are methods used to engage students in various ways in a lesson. Technology is machinery and equipment developed from applying scientific knowledge. In education, technology can range from a scissors to a laptop computer. Textbooks are used as a reference for content in a lesson. They contain a standard work for the study of a subject. Worksheets are tasks on paper for students to complete. There are many teaching methods and strategies that can be used. Which of the methods that were discussed in this lesson was your favorite? Which of them have you seen used in the classrooms in which you are a student? Which of the methods do you think you would like to use to engage your students in meaningful activities that will expand their thinking, broaden their horizons, and help them to gain valuable knowledge that will allow them to become contributing members of a democratic Bahamas? Remember, you should never stop learning new methods and strategies when you become a teacher. These methods and strategies might benefit the students of your future classroom. Thanks for your attention. Don't forget to do the activity.